Hello. On today's subject, we are going to learn about the Recheck of psychology. Nowadays on social media, you probably have seen psychology somewhere every day. For example, if you dream about him, then you're in love with him. If somebody sneezes, then it means something. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't really into that stuff, but I've seen a lot of them. I just have not paid attention to them at all. So today's subject is how true is the so-called psychology facts or psychology techniques that are being used that is actually like, is it real? Is it actually like a good way to analyze or to say that somebody is the way they are? I found a TikToker, and her name is Ina Kanevsky. I am horrible at names, so I apologize if I don't get it right. But she's a psychology professor. There is instances where she will stitch whatever the influencer decides to call psychology, and then she will actually tell you if it's true or if it's horrible or whatever. And I want to check it today because like something she has to say is pretty good, and I think we need to get a little bit of a recheck and not trust everything we think is on social media. The first thing we're going to be seeing is Rose that tells you that psychologists say when someone is laughing at you and looking at you, they're attracted to you. I tried to find like the entire video, but it was unavailable, so I just have that to base on.
Psychology says no such thing. And don't even get me started on the one where if you dream of someone, that means they're in love with you. How is that supposed to work?
I do believe that sometimes my dream does tell me things that I don't particularly think about, but it actually impact me a lot. But some of them are just like, is it really real? Is it really real? And I just think I think sometimes she's really funny too. She's like, how is that supposed to work? Alright, girl, okay. I can back it up that sometimes I have no like actual evidence. I have no actual evidence, but it's just the way it is, okay? And sometimes I'm just like, if I'm laughing and looking at you, are you gonna take it as like I'm attracted to you? I mean, like, yes, I swing both ways, but I don't like everyone that I interact with. I laugh a lot. I laugh at stupid things. I laugh at when there's nothing to laugh at. That does not mean that, oh yeah, she likes me that way. I'm like, no, that's maybe that is for some people, like they do that. That's like a sign, but like, if you're gonna generalize that, it's gonna be you will not be able to like. Are you saying that I cannot interact with somebody without like laughing and looking at them? Because that would be horrible. Because I have to like be like, that's not gonna work. And there's another video where she is talking more in depth about it, and I think it's like something we should watch.
Wait, hold on. If you followed me because of that, or because of some other fake fact debunking that I have done, and because I am a science-based psychology creator, you should know that I am supportive of all of this, okay? And all of that support is also science-based. It's all right here for you. You can learn current biological terms. You can learn that both Psychological Association and Psychiatric Association here in the United States are supportive of LGBTQ plus people of various identities. And that means all of the identities. You do not get to pick and choose which ones. If you're not here for it, and if you're not willing to learn the current psychological science, the current biology, then perhaps following me is not for you. But I hope you will stay. And I hope you will be willing to learn, even if it is challenging for you, even if you currently believe something else. Because if you're willing to accept all of this other evidence that I provide, why aren't you willing to accept this evidence? Think about that.
What I think she's trying to say, now I am not some sort of psychologist or whatever, but what she's trying to say is that we're like so used to our own thoughts and opinions, and this is where like confirmation bias and cherry picking kind of starts. You know, you start just seeing things that confirm the things that you believe in. And cherry picking is when you take one, like if you have entire information, you only take the part where it is showing your thoughts or what you believe in. What she's trying to say is that yes, it's very difficult for people to do a recheck on what is called their psychology, or what they think are psychology. For example, if he dreams about you, then he likes you. But like that's like the very low part of it. But like there is many things that we humans believe in that yes, sometimes it doesn't always need a scientific evidence to be true for us, but sometimes we need to recheck ourselves and think, is that reasonable? Is what I think is real reasonable? And in psychology, you want to like recheck your own bias and your own like thoughts about things, because to do that you can see like, okay, I think like this, but some others might think like this, and their reason is this and my reason this, and you kind of like start analyzing. You kind of start to see the differences and see, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they're right, maybe it's some sort of things I can't explain. Doesn't mean that you have to change, but you need to be more aware that we do have some sort of like, this is the right and wrong. I think it's a very, like, we need to start thinking a little bit more. Is this what I'm being told reasonable? Is there any other opinions about this that might have more reasons, arguments about their part? And then you pick and choose between that, but don't always fall for like, oh, if they said this, then it must be right, because anybody can be on social media and say anything, and you cannot believe everyone, not even like your favorite influencer. Sometimes you need to fact check on your opinions, what is right and wrong. This has been on my feed 24/7. You know, when you're on whatever you would decide to be on, Instagram, TikTok, yada yada, all of it, there is going to be a video that you see that is like hashtag ADHD or hashtag autism or hashtag narcissism, dissociation. I'm reading off like things that she has to say here, but like diagnosis that if you do these things, then you have some sort of diagnosis. And one of the most common thing that I see is, for example, when people walk very differently, people with ADHD, for example, where they don't really avoid the obstacles, instead they just swerve around. And For some people that has ADHD, that might be true, but just because you do that does not mean automatically that you have ADHD. I, for example, have a tendency to be swerving instead of just walking away from that obstance, and I end up like hurting myself. But that doesn't mean that I have ADHD for that. Of course, it is kind of like a sign, maybe. It might be a sign that you have ADHD. So I think this is like a good way to really recheck yourself. Just because you see these videos where it tells you like if you're sensitive to, for example, for me, I am very sensitive to sounds, I'm very sensitive to smell, like any sort of like sensational stuff, I am very sensitive to it. And I end up having like really sensitive nose to a point where I can smell who you've been with without you asking me, or I can know if like what you're feeling based on the smell, like your smell. And it's because of hormones and stuff that you release, but I can like smell it, and there's other things that I can smell, but it's like a few of them, right? And also sounds. When something is loud or something when something's loud or a noise I don't really like, I get really irky. Or if I feel something that I really don't like, I start to irk and I start to like be disgusted, and I'm just like, I can't touch this. For example, I will not touch meat during cooking because I hate the consistency, the smell, so I have to like put gloves on. And that is like one, like if you were to watch a video about that, there's probably one where it's like hypersensitivity, where you're sensitive to sounds, you're sensitive to light, you're sensitive to the touch of things, and it means that you have autism. It's a sign that you are like in the spectrum of autism. You might have autism and have hypersensitivity. But just because you're hypersensitive does not mean that you have autism. And for me, I understand that I have hypersensitivity, but I don't think that I have autism because there's other criteria of autism that you need to be met or checked that you have these criteria. And the other ones with the social and not really understanding and stuff like that, it's not due to autism. Me not understanding people emotionally does not come from autism. It comes from something else. And I know that because I've been through it, and I understand why. Like, I had to go back in time and rethink, like, why am I the way that I am? And that is something we need to get better at. Just because something says, for example, if this is autism, does not mean always that it's that, because you always might have something else that is underlying reasons to it. And if you don't like start analyzing, start thinking about like your past, I have horrible memories, but I still try. I talk my way through and trying to understand my different stages of my life where it could have gone wrong, where I could have gone this. And I found out the reason. I'm not gonna tell you right here because it's pretty private. The next video is about when you're sleeping and you have this like T-Rex arm when you sleep.
T-Rex arms, the gift that keeps on giving. Hi, I am a professor of psychology sitting here in my classroom being annoyed at the persistence and the expansion of this nonsense. When I first saw this long time ago, I don't know, a couple of years at least, it was just about autism. T-Rex arms, if you sleep like that means that it's a sign of autism and you should get it checked out. Or maybe you should just diagnose yourself. And then somehow it started also being a sign of ADHD. And then it
became caused by neurodivergency in general, which I'm not sure how dyslexia can cause sleeping like this at all. And now apparently there is narcissistic abuse as a cause that has been proposed. Abuse is abuse. Narcissistic abuse isn't really quite a thing in psychology, but I know it's popular here. However, if you are in a permanent fight or flight state, you're not going to be sleeping. Fight or flight requires activation of sympathetic nervous system. And most of the time when we are asleep, we are in a parasympathetic state, unless we are dreaming. And you can't be in a fight or flight state when you're doing this. This is just not how nervous system works. So how about we are going to stop spreading nonsense and calling it mental health awareness?
As a person that does this through T-Rex arms, I can tell you that no, I don't do it because I have autism, or if I have ADHD, or I have a narcissistic. I've been narcissistically abused before. It's probably because I like it. It feels good. It's stimulating. It's kind of like when you lift your arm from out of nowhere. Stimulating, isn't it? It feels relaxed. It feels fine. I don't think there is any sort of underlying. Maybe there is. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not but I don't believe that just because I sleep like a T-Rex, there's some form of autism or ADHD or I've been narcissistically abused. I just like the feeling of it. Okay, and some reason, as you stated before, the underlying reason could be like you're dyslexic or you're narcissistically abused, and we throw that narcissistic term very often in things, and it's so mind-boggling that just like the daily things I do might be some sort of like, oh, you have autism, you have ADHD. Like I said before, it might be a sign, but I don't think like having a T-Rex arm means definition that you have autism. Because then, if you do like this, I can say like, oh, if you have your hand like this, then up in the sky of no apparent reason, then you have autism. Everybody would probably have autism. I'm gonna search this up. Does T-Rex arm during sleep mean something? Alright, so Rex arm sleeping position refers to a way of sleeping where the arms are bent at the elbows and held close to the body, similar to a way a T-Rex arm are positioned. This sleeping position is not exclusive to autistic individuals, but it can particularly prevail among them. Yes, some with autism does do that, but so does any other people. Like some things that autistic or any people with diagnosis does, we also do. But that doesn't mean that we have it. And one of them is T-Rex arms, apparently.
If you want to see what other people think about you, all you have to do is give them a cup or a water bottle and see what they do with it. This is a very sneaky psych trick you can do on other people to actually test whether they think of you in a positive or a negative light. This is a cup test that has never failed me. All you have to do is during a conversation with this person, simply give them a cup or a water bottle during the conversation as if you're not really doing it intently and see what they do with it. Typically, our body language is super tight and closed with people that we are not comfortable with or that we don't like. So if they're holding the cup with gaps in between their finger, as opposed to it tight like this, and you can kind of just tell they're like uncomfortable, they don't know what to do with the water bottle, that is not a good sign, because we typically hold cups with gaps in between our fingers when we're comfortable with the other person, when we like them. So just give them the water bottle and see what they do with it for the next minute. They have no idea what you're actually doing with the water bottle, so the test will work. Try it. It will not fail you. This is psychologically proven to work.
Is realize that your expectations are going to guide what you're going to see and how you're going to interpret it. And that's why the test has never failed you. It's a good example for self-fulfilling prophecy and confirmation bias. Thanks, I'm going to use it in class, but please don't use it on your friends. This isn't nice to do to your friends.
So this video is about that, some body language stuff. And when it comes to body language, I think that there is some underlying reasons to why we behave the way we behaved, and we can analyze by body language. But any professional that I ever watch, I watched this guy, I don't remember his name, but he's very understanding, and he understands that sometimes we can't read a body language just by one thing, and also sometimes we do things that doesn't really mean anything, and it has to be taken by a grain of salt. So I do think that body language doesn't always going to tell you about things. So this girl, she tells us that by the way you're holding a bottle of water or something like that, or cup, tells if you're comfortable with the person or not. And I'm not aware about how I hold my bottles, and not even when sometimes I drop my bottles. I don't think it really means anything by the way that you hold your bottle. Like, it's a very sneaky way of judging somebody based on just how they act. And I don't think that's like a good way to judge somebody just by their holding stuff, or how they position themselves, or how they talk to you. But you know, like, it's so, how would you say, it's so, because that it's kind of like I have no words, basically, because this is my first time I heard about it. Like, how you hold your bottle or cup tells a lot about you, and I'm like, what do I ever think about that? You know, is it big? Are you just gonna? No. Anyways, and this is dangerous when you start hanging out with somebody new, and if you use this technique, right, and they're like not what you call comfortable with you due to whatever position their hand is being placed, you're going to end up thinking like, oh, they don't like me, or oh, they don't like being with me, and then it's going to be awkward, and it's not going to end up well. And then confirmation bias comes when they don't talk to you anymore, and you'll be like, oh, it must be because they weren't comfortable with me, or that, rather than thinking maybe it's because I thought that they're not comfortable with me, so I end up just not really be interested in them because that's what I think. And then during that time, you're not going to think like it's due to my behavior, but you're going to think like it's because of the technique that I used. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. You need like a it's going to take time for you to know if they like you or not over time, I think. Not just based on like one technique and that's it. They hate me. Like, that's a horrible way to go. Okay, that's a horrible way to make friends. Anyhow, so these are the things that I want you to be more aware of. You need to fact check about things that you see and have a critical eye of things that you believe in. When you see a post that is like relatable content, ADHD, autism, if you do this and you have this and this, start with, is this reasonable? Is it reasonable with a T-Rex arm that I have autism or ADHD or narcissistic abuse? And then fact check by Google search. It does not take you that long. It takes less than 5 minutes for you to get an answer. Don't use any sort of like mini techniques to know what they think about you, because it will tell in due time. It will tell you over time if they like you or not. Don't do these mini tricks and then think like, oh, it's because of this reason that it's not working. Luna, no, I'm filming. Not right now, go. We need to understand, just because you have something does not mean that by definition that you have a diagnosis. It can be a sign, but it can also be because it's a general thing that all people do, but it can also be on something other. There can also be other reasons to why you do the things. It doesn't always have to relate to the post. So remember that to next time when you are on social media and you see something like this, because you probably will, start thinking, is this reasonable? Is this true? Is there any underlying reason why they are trying to cave in? They're trying to convince me. Okay. I would like to have 2 hands, but my dog is sleeping on my legs, so goodbye.